Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you an OP build guide for Gale, or really any wizard that wants to go full 12 into wizard. So there's three main casting classes here. We got sorcerer, warlock, wizard, also cleric and bard kind of, and paladin is also somewhat of a caster, and also druid, but wizard is the caster of all casters. So we're going to get into this here. The wizard can learn any spell, which is really powerful. Some classes will dip one into wizard, but wizard uses intelligence as their main casting modifier, so we want to really focus on that. As far as cantrips go, I think that Firebolt's kind of like the main damage dealer. Ray of Frost is not a bad one, as well as you can use it in a cone-like maneuver, and it reduces the movement speed. Friends can be good if you're the main character, but I'm just going to ignore that one for now. I think Minor Illusion is actually one of the most underrated cantrips of all time. Reason being, Minor Illusion can grab enemies together. So if you're just out of combat and you use Minor Illusion, it'll group all the enemies together, so you're going to go investigate, and then you can just rain down fireballs on them. So that's what I think is a great cantrip to start with. As far as spells go, Magic Missile is the most powerful one, and I'll get into that a little bit later, but it can remove Unstoppable later on in the game by upcasting this, which is really powerful, so we want that. Witch Bolt can be a pretty nice one. Chromatic Orb, those are three of probably the best. Ice Knife is not bad either to have some cold damage and also piercing damage. Thunder Wave can do it in a area of effect. I misspoke earlier on the ice one. This is the one that has the area of effect attack. And Mage Armor can be pretty okay, but we're level 3. I have this heavy armor for Gale here. Take that maybe early on, but Tasha's Hideous Laughter is a decent one. Ray of Sickness, Burning Hands, Mass Disguise Self. Like, there's lots of great spells that we can choose here, because the wizard learns them all. I like False Life, though, early on in the game, especially when the health economy is kind of difficult, so we're going to go with that one there. Gale's looking kind of gross here. I took the Astral Tadpole, but as we get into abilities, this is the important bread and butter of the build. We want to have our intelligence maxed out. Constitution's nice too to give us a bit of extra survivability, as wizards are kind of weak in terms of survivability. So I think that this is actually pretty good for it. Skill proficiencies are roughly that would be a good choice. Perception's always something you want. And now we're going to get into the build itself. I really like to have that armor in Act 3. So get that heavy armor. It's going to help with survivability a lot for a wizard. We get to choose our subclass here now. So there's lots of different subclasses for a wizard, and to get into them, you can go evocations. I would say the best. Necromancy can be pretty cool if you're looking to do more of that type of role. Conjuration is more so about creating elementals and such. Enchantment can be okay, transmutation, but evocation's probably the best, I would say, and we're going to get into that a little bit later on why. But for our spells, you just really can go with whatever you need. For early game, Find Familiar is not a bad thing to hold aggro, and it just helps with survivability, so that could be a good one. Color Spray is nice. People may say, why would you want to do upwards of combined 33 health points? But you can spread that between a few different enemies, which is actually quite useful if you're getting attacked by multiple enemies and you need to stop the damage. So Color Spray can be useful. I like Grease, because Grease can knock enemies prone. It's good for crowd control, and then you can follow it with a Firebolt or something like that. So for our prepared spells, something like this looks pretty decent. I always have Magic Missile. Witch Bolt's nice early on, but that's what we're going to go with for our 5 spells at level 2. As we get into level 3 here, the wizard starts to develop a little bit more as they get level 2 spells here. Cloud of Daggers is crazy powerful early on, because you can just put it in a doorway and like everyone will just run through it. Blur, attackers have disadvantage on attack rolls against you, can be useful at times. Melf's Acid Arrow can be great as it does an area effect damage. That can be pretty useful. Detect Thoughts is nice if you're the main character, but we're not. Dark Vision, Crown of Madness, Darkness. These two go together, but we're not going to go with that. Blindness and Arcane Lock. Flaming Spear can be useful as you can drop a spear on someone, but I do think that the best we got, besides Misty Step can be a really nice bonus action. It does take a level 2 spell slot though. I also really like Scorching Ray. The reason I like Scorching Ray is you do 3 rays of fire, and you can upcast this later on. They do a lot of damage. This is kind of the main damage early on for a wizard. Alongside Magic Missile. Ray of Enfeeblement deals half. That one's not the best. It's Very situational. I would go with either Clouded Daggers, Misty Step, or Scorching Ray for your spells. I find that's the kind of most effective, especially earlier on in the game. As we get a bit further, things are going to look a little different. So for our cantrip at level 4, yeah, we're going to be going with something that's going to flesh out your character a little bit more. So we can go poison damage or acid damage. Shocking Grasp. The target cannot use reactions. The spell has advantage on creatures with metal armor. Shocking Grasp can be a nice cantrip to use. You're not going to typically be up in front of people. Bone Chill's another one that's pretty decent. Blade Ward can half the damage. It's really just whatever you need for survivability. Blade Ward can be pretty nice. So, again, cantrips are just to fill out what you're not using. As we get into another level 2 spells, Misty Step is obviously the one we want to be taking. Shatter damages all nearby creatures and objects. Creatures made of inorganic materials such as stone have disadvantage on their saving throw. Shatter can be quite nice. Web gives the area a flammable web. We're going to go with Shatter and Misty Step there. For our prepared spells, something like this would look pretty good. We don't have too many level 2 spells as we only have so many slots. And then we get to use and select a feat. Now, as a wizard, your feats are going to be not as, you're not going to have as much as like a fighter in terms of the effectiveness. Spell Sniper gives you a better chance of hitting a critical hit, which is kind of nice. Warcaster allows you to have advantage on saving throws to maintain concentration. That can actually be pretty big, especially if you're out in combat often. I like this one a lot, and you can also use a reaction to cast Shocking Grasp, so that can be pretty decent if someone's running by you. I like Warcaster or going with the ability improvement. If we went ability improvement, we take intelligence up to 18 to round that off as an even number, as that's what we need, and then constitution to probably a 16. So we'll go with that because I think it does have a lot of usefulness holding your concentrations on something like spinning or Clouded Daggers, as you want to have that damage output. Now as we get to level 3, Fireball is the number 1 spell. I think Fireball can be incredibly useful. Grant Fly is okay. We got the special Illithid, so we already got Fly. But earlier on, that can be nice. I personally like Counterspell on Gale. Just something about shutting down the enemy with your massive amount of spells. This can be a game changer, especially if you're getting close to getting nuked. So we're going to take Fireball. And just depends if you still need False Life or not. But thunder damage or lightning damage, we may take Counterspell just to have that ability to shut them down real quick. Now we're getting into level 6 as the sorcerer, or the wizard, starts to get a little bit more powerful here. We get our subclass Potent Cantrip. Your cantrips can become harder to evade entirely. When a creature succeeds a saving throw against one of your cantrips, it still takes half the damage, but no additional effects. So that can just be good for overall damage output. And that's one of the nice things about being the evocation wizard. Now we get to choose another level 3. Haste is great. It gives you an extra action, become faster, and +2 to armor class. This is one of the most OP spells in the game, so we want to be taking that one. It really comes up to your own build needs. Glyph of Warding can be nice. Inscribe a glyph on the ground. You can choose what type of element it is as well, which is nice. Sleet Storm can be okay. Lightning Bolt's nice because you can do a big line of damage. So we'll go with something like this, and I think that works pretty well for this build. Wizard is very powerful in terms of just knowing a lot of spells. If you find any spells, you can purchase, or you can spend 50 or 100 gold depending on what type of wizard you are to learn the spell, which can be very useful. As we get to level 4, this is where we get our next round of attacks. Ice Storm is one of my personal favorites because it creates a big icy surface, and crowd control is really nice to have on a wizard. Minor Elemental can actually be quite useful too. The elementals just are great for just overall survivability of the rest of your team, but also they can output some damage, so that's really nice. We want to be taking one of our level 4 spells. I'm just going to go with Ice Storm because it's really powerful for setting a large area of effect, making it slippery terrain. And then if you use a fireball after on the Ice Storm, you can create water, and then you can use Electric Attack for extra damage. So next we're going to go, I think Wall of Fire is nice. You get to choose a wall of fire, literally, so that can be quite nice. Fire Shield can be a pretty decent spell to take. Greater Invisibility, turn a creature invisible. can be kind of useful in times. Polymorph can also be kind of useful. These level 4 spells really have different utility. So stone skin is also nice when turning a creature flesh is hard as stone. It'll only take half the damage while non-magic bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. So great for survivability later on. Polymorph's another nice one. Turns enemy into a sheep for 5 turns, then you can just shove them off a cliff. Phantasmal Killer, haunt a creature with the worst nightmare, takes 4 to 40 psychic damage per turn, cannot move and has disadvantage. This can also be a really nice concentration to take. So really, either Stone Skin if you need more survivability, or Phantasmal Killer. And as we go into prepared skills, it's something like this. Just depends on, again, your needs. You could swap that out for extra fire damage. I just like having the elementals for survivability. Now, in terms of our next, Spell Sniper gives us, again, higher crit chance, so that can be a pretty good one. You can take any one of these to learn, like, Warlock. You can learn Warlock cantrips. I wouldn't fully recommend it because the Warlock makes most use of those. So we're going to go ability improvement, take our intelligence up to 18 and constitution to 16. This will give us a nice +3 to constitution checks and a +4 to intelligence checks, which is pretty useful as a wizard. And to wizard level 9, we still don't have a whole lot of health, but we get 2 more spells at level 5, which is pretty nice. Cone of Cold, this is where I misspoke earlier. Make a Flurry of Frost. Gives you a nice ability to crowd control. Conjure Elemental, though, this is the better elemental skill, so we could even have just skipped the last one, but doesn't make a huge difference. Telekinesis is kind of nice because you can use this and keep using it without expending a spell slot. Dimension Door is like Misty Step for you and a partner. And Wall of Stone can kind of be useful in certain circumstances. Cloud Kill is also nice too, just for crowd control. So we're going to go with those two. Really, when it comes down to it, it's about what your team needs most. So if you need more defensive, the Wizard got you on defensive abilities. For cantrip, pick, really, when it comes down to this, is what you need best. Gain advantage on your next attack roll is nice, but it requires action to use this. I'll go with something like that. We got our Shocking Grasp back. And then for our level 5 spells, Planar Binding can be pretty nice. Target an otherworldly creature and attach its consciousness to your own. It will follow and fight with you as an ally for 10 turns. Wall of Stone can be useful. The wizard has a lot of abilities. Hold Monster can be good, especially as there's quite a few monsters later on. Dominate Person. We're going to go with Cone of Cold and Hold Monster. As for our prepared spells, we're going to go with, we'll take off Minor Elemental and put the higher level Elemental. So this looks like pretty good spell lineup for a wizard. For 14 spells there, pretty good. Again, you can learn more from any type of scroll. So a little pro tip, Summon Quasit from earlier in the game is actually very useful here. And then we get our level 6 spells. Disintegrate can be 50 to 100 damage, which is crazy. Reduces the target to his 0 health points. Eye Bite, your eyes become black corridors walled within your teeth. Your gaze capable of inflicting dread, sickness, or putting creatures to sleep. We have a lot of great choices here in terms of damage. Globe of Invulnerability makes all creatures inside that cone invulnerable to damage. Odalux for using Spear creates a ball of churning ice to be launched, instantly create a frosty explosion, or stored for later use. Sunbeam, another really great one. You can get Sunbeam from a weapon gained in Act 1, and this is very powerful. Wall of Ice is pretty powerful too, but I like Wall of Fire a little bit more. Arcane Gate, it's kind of like Dimension Door. I personally really like Chain Lightning because it can just bounce around a lot of people. And if you do earlier what I said about the Ice Storm, Fireball, Chain Lightning is the third in that. So we're going to go with that. Create Undead can be pretty nice to have a mummy on your side. Circle of Death. Disintegrate can be quite powerful, so I think I'm going to go with that one there. And then for our spells, we want to take at least one of these, so we might throw on Chain Lightning. I find Chain Lightning just great because it does a lot of damage and can spread out to a lot of people. Into our final level of Wizard. This video went a lot longer than I thought it was going to, but for our final one, it's really just about whatever you need for survivability or damage. Sunbeams are pretty good. Lightning or a pretty good radiant attack, and then global vulnerability gives you survivability for 3 turns. So that can be very useful. You can also go with something like Otto's Irresistible Dance, which I heard did get nerfed. This is a spell that just basically takes one person out of a fight, cause a creature to start dancing, making it unable to take attacks or move. Its attacks have advantage Its attackers have advantage on attack rolls, so this can help you wipe out someone. There used to be, when you fight a certain boss later on in the game, this could have been very useful. I'm not going to spoil which boss that is, but something like this looks good for our 16 spells. Again, the wizard can swap out your spells at any time, and you can learn any spell, so you could hypothetically just go and learn all of these on your own. For our final feat, ability improvement, take that intelligence up to 20. Then you get that nice crispy +5 to intelligence checks. So that's quite powerful. And what kind of brings this all together, there's a couple things I guess I should mention. So with the wizard, you can dual wield staffs, and some of them gives you, if you get 2 of these ones with the arcane battery, alleviate the arcane burden of spellcasting with the power of a staff. You can get 2 attacks that don't cost a spell slot, which you can do 2 chain lightning. So that's really powerful. But Helldusk armor, you get this in Act 3, visiting. Obviously, we're just going to go with the first word there, no spoilers. You're considered proficient in this armor while wearing it, and it's heavy armor, which is really nice. And you get fly. You get infernal retribution when you succeed a saving throw. The caster receives burning for 3 turns. Very powerful. And you have resistance to fire damage, cannot be burned. You take 3 less damage from all sources. So this is great for survivability on Gale. His is the highest armor class, and he's a wizard. So yeah, with a good build, you can make your wizards crazy strong. Seal to devotion. We don't even have the strongest shield on him either, so if we were to swap that out, take his armor class up to armor class 24. Absolutely a tank at this point. So Helldusk helmet, really great build here. But again, you can also dual wield staffs and make use of that. Snowburst ring's pretty nice. When you deal cold damage, you get a ring of ice around them. And then this other ring here just gives you a couple of necromancy spells. And this will, the amulet of greater health sets your constitution score to 23. So Gale, with this exact setup, is super overpowered because he's still a level 12 wizard, but he has more health and more armor class than anyone else on my team. So he can get nuking, and you got a whole lot of availability for spells. You can press K to open up all your spell slots, and you can swap these all out and learn some more. And then you got your reaction stuff. This is very powerful, so I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please hit the subscribe button below, and I will see you all in the next video.